Hi, dark mode is scary and it has lots of little complicated things that make your emails behave in ways that are unpredictable. There's one thing though that you can easily fix, and that is dark fonts on dark background. That is something that can happen in dark mode, and there's only one situation where it can happen, and there's an easy workaround. But it involves some testing, and so what I'm going to do is just show you as with this email as an example how we can avoid having dark text on dark background in dark mode, which obviously it keeps people from reading your text and looks weird. So that's a good one to keep track of and avoid. And the good news is it's very easy to avoid the situation. All you have to do is understand why it's happening. So we have here a cross-sell email. As you can see, there's some white background here. And so this is an image, so we can have this creative layout that otherwise we wouldn't be able to create with just HTML. But the rest of the email is going to be HTML, right? So we have text here, and this resizes better on mobile screens. This is an image, but as you can see, it's a PNG with a transparent background. So there's not going to be any weird white background here. There's not going to be any interruption. The background is going to be smooth and the same. And then here you can see these are dynamic products, right? Or static products, but taken from the website. So, and then we have a timer. This is also HTML. So all of this except for this image is mainly HTML. So you can see here the background is transparent. So then this whole thing, there's going to be a smooth transition when the background changes in dark mode, it becomes dark. This is going to look, all of this is going to become dark, right? So what's the problem? The problem is that this, and we hadn't thought of that, and sometimes we forget things, right? But that's why it's good to test. This is dark font, but it's part of the image. So this will not change, but the background around it will change. So if we try a preview right now, I'm gonna show you in a second what it looks like. We send this to ourselves as a preview. So now you can see I'm opening this on my phone in dark mode. You can see that this image, as we discussed, the background transition is very smooth because there's no background, and all of this looks good, right? This timer is a little bit weird, but that's something we can work on. The main thing is here, this looks pretty bad, right? So first of all, we didn't clean this well enough, but mainly we shouldn't have to clean this because it doesn't make sense to have that. Sorry, I'm struggling with the zoom here. Okay, there we go. You can see this is dark font, right? So even if we had cleaned this the way that it should be cleaned, which we won't do because we won't keep this, it would all be dark and we wouldn't be able to see it, but we would be able to see that there's something in there. So it would be very confusing for the customer, because you can still see it, right? You can still see that there's something there. It's not like it just kind of smoothly blends into the background, because this is not completely black background, as you can see on this line here, right? This is kind of, I don't know what it's called, but it's a sort of lighter black, right? So you can still see that there's something, and it's very confusing, and it's not nice, right? It's definitely not nice. So this is why testing is super important, right? You might want to think about your backgrounds and make things look smooth in dark mode and adjust things so that they're responsive and they look good, and all that is great, and you should be doing all that. But don't forget the last step, which is testing. And if you have this situation, just remember the golden rule is don't mix images and HTML, right? So this is not a mix, right? There's a clear cut here, even though it's in a funny shape. There's, all of this is image, and all of that below is HTML. So we don't mix images and HTML, especially not with text, because then we get these situations. And now this is stuck. Okay. Yeah. So we don't mix them, and this is why. And this is what we can do. What the solution is to just not mix text and images. So if we see this, we've put in the work, made this banner. We don't need to redo everything. We can just get rid of this one part, right? And this is what we did in this email. So I'm going to show you. You can see we just removed this whole thing and smoothened that line. Everything else is the same, right? So the background is still going to look the same. I'm going to show you what it looks like. And now you can see that it looks much cleaner, and we just removed that apart, and all of this looks good because it's image on image, and all of that looks good because it's HTML and HTML. And the transition looks good because we got rid of unnecessary backgrounds. So the main takeaway here is don't mix text and image, especially not when you're don't mix HTML and images, especially not when you're dealing with text, because you will run into the situation. Email is not a static medium, right? There are lots of different ways that it will display on different devices. So first of all, make sure that you're keeping that in mind as you design. And secondly, always test, right? Especially when you're making flows that are going to be evergreen. But test everything. Send tests to your devices and look at them on mobile screens and in dark mode, because a lot of times we will be working on desktops to build emails, to have our workspace with our assets and all the things we need, but most people are going to see this email on their phones. So that's what you can bridge that disconnect by sending it and reviewing it on your phone. So yeah, always double check the different screen sizes and dark mode, and that will help you identify errors before a customer complains about them.